Bulavinaka, welcome to another episode of Let Me Pod You with Andy Blake. My name is Andy Blake, obviously, and on today's episode, I have a very special guest, one of the co-founders of Fiji's most famous band, InsideOut, who also plays the bass guitar in the renowned band InsideOut, Timothy Solomon. Timothy, your childhood involved a lot of moving around due to your dad's work. How do you think that shaped you as a person?
Well, for me, one of the biggest things was my parents really played a big part in my upbringing. I mean, looking back at it after having kids, you kind of see why they instilled these values in you.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a Christian family, and mostly based around the fruits of the Spirit. Love, patience, peace, joy, kindness. And so that's pretty much how they portrayed it to us. And I think it's one of the places where I learned how to sing or sing along.
Yeah.
We have this song that we used to sing in church, righteousness, peace. So kind of translating, all these things into what I am today now.
Right.
And that's how I portray it towards my kids and my family.
So that played sort of like a huge role, like from that early upbringing to who you are now as a person, and then you're like passing that on to your children.
Yes, definitely. I may not be the most perfect Christian, but I try and instill that into my kids. They may not know it now, but they will kind of know it when they grow up.
Good values to have and good teachings, to pass on to your children. Now, you shared that you were very close to your mom. Losing at a young age, similar to me, I lost my mom at a young age, must have been incredibly difficult. How did that loss affect you, and how did you find your way forward?
For me, losing her at when I was in Form 4, that was just before our, I forgot what it was called, FSLC or FS?
Fiji Junior Examination.
After that, just before that, and then as soon as she passed away, like I couldn't even focus during my exams. I just managed to pass, and then I started rebelling not because my dad was always at work and there was no one at home, but because he had to do what he had to do to fend for our family. And then I started rebelling, and pretty much I never finished Form 6. Kind of went to the final exams, and all I did was draw on my exam papers. So nothing to be proud of, but it's a lesson. It's something that I can learn. I learned from. So.
Yeah. And how did you find your way forward after that? Like after doing, going through that phase, because it was a phase.
Yes, it was.
And then how did you find your way forward? Like, was there, did somebody speak to you, or did you just wake up one morning and decide, okay, I need to change my attitude?
So during me being rebellious, my dad kind of noticed, and then there was this camp that was coming up straight after the exams. And I was into music, so it was based around music with the church, but it was in Savu. So I kind of was interested in it, and he saw that I was interested in it, and then he sent me over. And it was there where I realized, I'm done with school. What am I going to do now? And then, what if my dad passes away anytime soon because my mom died at a young age?
Yeah.
What if he passed away? And who would fed for me and my brothers and my family? And if I had a family, who would fed for them? So that's why I wanted to go back into school, try and complete school and attend tertiary.
Yeah. And I've met your dad. Your dad is fit. Like, when you meet him, you wouldn't think You think you're his dad? No jokes.
Yeah, that idea, yes. Yeah.
Now you mentioned rebelling after your mom's passing. Eh? What was going through your mind during that time, and what was it? I guess we just spoke about like what eventually helped you turn things around. But when you were rebelling, what sort of thoughts were you having? Can you remember like what sort of thoughts you were having at the time? Like were you doing it to sort of like mask your emotions, or were you just doing it to get attention, or why were you doing what you were doing at the time?
Yes, I guess it's a bit of everything. Like having my mom pass away she was the person that actually was directing me, do this, don't do that, it's not good, giving advice. And so I was kind of looking for those things. Yeah?
Right.
Like I was looking
Yeah.
pretty much what people say, if you're you become what company
You
around.
keep.
Yeah, or you keep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, what do I do? And my friends at school, I made a lot of good friends and a lot of bad friends. And then I just kept doing, things that I thought would be good for me. Go out drinking, go out. I pretty much stayed away from home for like close to 2 to 3 months without my dad even knowing where I was. But I think I know he had faith in God, and,
Yeah.
and he was.
He was always praying for you.
He was.
Yeah.
And my grandmother. So
Yeah.
that was a really good. Well, it wasn't a good experience, but it's something that I really learned from. So pretty much everything just relates to how your upbringing is.
Yeah, interesting. Now let's talk a little bit about your education and your career path. You made the decision to go to church camp in Savasava, which you just spoke about, which became a turning point for you. Eh? What was that experience like, and how did it change your perspective on life? Like being in Savasava and at the church camp and being surrounded by all these other passionate young individuals who kind of were like, I guess we could say, had an idea of where they were going in life. Like how did that sort of like impact you and made you see things differently?
I guess it just made me who I am today. The realization of growing up. Yalomatua, as one of our songs say. It's pretty much just realizing that you're not in a good place and you need to make decisions now and make it for the betterment of your livelihood,
Yeah.
your future.
Yeah.
And so I just pretty much thought what I needed to do. I wanted to go to tertiary school, so the steps to getting into a tertiary school without even completing high school.
Yeah.
And I pretty much made it through short courses that were available at TPEF.
Right.
So that was a milestone for me.
Yeah.
And the only person in my whole family to actually go to tertiary school.
Wow.
My dad didn't go to tertiary school. My mom, my siblings all didn't go to tertiary
Wow.
school, and I'm the only one that's been to tertiary school
Yeah.
and graduated. So that's a big achievement for me. And I think most of my drive comes from my dad, especially to do with goals. He's been in the bank since he was 19, and he's still working.
In the bank.
Yes, in the bank. He started when he was 19, and he still works for the bank. So like just keeping your eyes focused on what you want to achieve and just keep going.
That's amazing. Sounds really interesting there. You didn't take a traditional academic path, but you found your own way through TPAF. How do you pronounce it again?
TPEF.
TPAF. And later studied automotive heavy vehicles.
Yes.
How do you view education now, and what advice would you give to young people who feel like lost in school?
Look at every obstacle as a challenge. Yeah? It's not the end of the road. There's always ways to get around things. Yeah? Like you just need to ask. Now we have social media. You can look up stuff. You can typically type up how to cook curry, and it'll show you how.
Yeah.
So if it's anything to do with education or just life, you can just always search it up.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what I kind of did too as well. I was lucky enough to be in the era of when internet started, so I was able to search up how I could further my studies without even completing education, high school education. So and just speaking to people.
Yeah.
Like how I had people at the campsites to talk
Right.
to and see where I could go from there.
Right.
It was a man, part of not the camp but the church, who actually I spoke to about, like, I haven't completed high school but I want to go to tertiary. What would be your advice? And he actually studied heavy diesel. So that's where I got my inspiration from. Apart from liking cars and all that kind of stuff, I went to this guy and he kind of walked me through steps and helped me get through to FIT.
Yeah. At the time, it was FIT, Fiji Institute of Technology.
No, so my main goal was to get into FIT, but I needed to get credit. I needed to get the marks for certain subjects. So I had to go to a different institute to go and get those. So I had to study basic maths, basic English, basic physics. Physics I've never done in my life. I managed to pass somehow. And so all that I had to compile it because I didn't finish high school. I said, I took it to FIT. And then I said, I've done this. Am I eligible to take part in automobile?
Yeah. No, I'm the reason why I mentioned Fiji Institute of Technology, because now it's known as the Fiji National University.
Yes, it is.
So you saying FIT, I also went to FIT, really shows how young we are.
Yes. I was in... It was in the transition of going to FNU, but I graduated under FIT.
Oh, interesting. And it's good too, because like what you mentioned, like in terms of like finding stuff on the internet, whether you want to be, like in terms of like helping you choose career goals, you can just go on the internet and type information in and everything comes in. Back in when I was in going through my education, we had internet, but it wasn't really accessible because, you could... Yeah, it was not really accessible. Back then, we didn't even have smartphones.
True.
I'm talking about the 90s. We're not talking about the dark rock ages here. Yeah. But we got through it. And then I was actually, like, similar to what you were doing. I was in the... I was actually studying to be in the medical field. I did biology, I did physics, I did chemistry, and heading into the medical field. And then fast forward 20 years or 10 years later, I went into arts, and here I am today.
Same with me.
Interesting. All right, we're going to take a short break, fill up those coffee cups, fill up those teacups, and we'll put in a commercial from one of our sponsors of the podcast. And in case you are noticing this lovely pearl piece that I'm wearing, this is Fiji made pearls, which is exclusively sold at Jacks of Fiji, and they are one of our sponsors of the podcasts. Let Me Pod You with Andy Blake. We'll see you right after this break. Timothy, let's talk about your journey with InsideOut, which is, in my opinion, the most famous band in Fiji, and the music industry, not just your career, but the music industry as a whole. Now, you met Cookie, who is also a famous musician and one of the co-founders of InsideOut, and this was when you moved back to Suva. You were living in Nandi?
I was living in Lotoka. So as soon as I graduated in heavy automotive, while I was waiting for to graduate, while I was waiting to graduate, I had moved back home where my dad was staying in Lotoka.
Yeah.
So I stayed there for a couple of years, and also I was also doing practical work at ATS while I was awaiting my graduation.
ATS being Air Terminal Services?
Yes. So I did my attachment there as well. So that was for a year, and then after that year finished, and then I moved to Suva, and then met Cookie again in Layasasa.
Wow. Okay. So and that's where, after meeting Cookie in Layasasa, you mean in Tamavua.
Yeah,
Namandi
Namandi
Heights.
Heights.
Namandi Heights. That's for those of you that are watching outside of Fiji. Namandi Heights is in the capital city, so it's a subdivision
Yeah.
where Timothy and Cookie grew up and lived. They were your neighbors, practically neighbors, right?
Pretty much neighbors, 4 houses away.
Wow. Wow. And that's when Inside Out started. Can you take us back to that moment? Like, how did it all begin? Like, did you just meet up and decided, okay, we'll start a band? Or did it like start from just like socializing and then finding out that you both had interest in music?
It's actually funny. One day, I think I was going to the shop and then I just met him all of a sudden. So we just managed to cross paths, and I didn't know that he was in Suva.
Yeah.
The last I remember, he was in New Zealand, and then he was in Taviuni. So I wasn't sure if he was here at all. But then we met, and then he said, he asked, "Oh, what are you doing now?" So I was like, "Oh, I'm just waiting to start off work."
But you guys went to school together, like backtracking
Yes.
to a bit of history. You both went to Maris Brothers High School together.
We went to Maris Primary and to Maris Thai.
Right.
But then he got ill at Form 4.
Yeah,
so-
he mentioned because he was a guest on the podcast. For our viewers that are just watching this episode, you can go back into our archives and find Cookie's episode. It was a very interesting story as well.
Yeah, so he got ill when he was in Form 4, and then the rebellion part. So we kind of went separate ways. I was staying at a friend's house most of the time. And yeah, so when we crossed paths, he just asked, "Hey, what you doing?" So I was like, "Oh, I've graduated now, and I'm just waiting to start work," which was like the following week
Yeah,
at the Fiji Ports.
right. When you say Fiji Pots, it's funny because I know the stories that you're gonna start telling me when you used to do rehearsals.
Yeah. So, and then I asked him the same question. What are you doing now? It's like, "Oh, I'm a full-time musician. I'm just I'm starting a band." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then the first question I said was, "Who's your lead singer?" Not knowing that he actually could sing and is a really good singer. I mean, until I heard him sing during our first practice, and then I was like, "Okay, I just keep quiet now." Because when we used to, back in the days when we used to finish like playing touch in the afternoon, touch rugby, we would come back to my place or his place, and we'll just grab a guitar, and all we do is just play guitar and just hum and sing along, but not do it, not take it serious.
Yeah.
So to me, it wasn't a serious thing, but to him, it was at that time. And
so you and Cookie were already carving out your musical careers just by doing that back in sitting on the driveways and playing guitars and singing and dreaming already. The dream started from Fiji to the world.
Yes, Tamani.
Yeah. So you talked about your financial struggles when I was reading like your bio as I was preparing for the podcast. Were a big challenge for the band. This is when you first started setting up Inside Out, because this is 10 plus years ago now.
Going on 12 years.
12 years, yeah. What kept you guys going during like the rough times? Like when you started out, because I think I remember when Inside Out first started out, there wasn't really a music scene. Maybe there was, but I wasn't so familiar with, because I had just moved back to Fiji as well.
I think there was just a handful of bands that were performing, and literally I think it was 3.
I remember there was Nox who was on the scene. There was Tale Nem,
and this other band, I forgot the name. But Tegan from Marama used to play for that band.
Okay.
So they used to do.
So Tegan is also, she also has a musical background.
Yes. So she used to perform when she was just straight out of high school as well. But with a group of friends, and they used to play at traps.
Interesting.
So that's how I got to know her, because I used to watch a couple of their shows.
Right. So going back to my question, like with the financial struggles of starting out as a new band, because not just in Fiji, but practically anywhere, unless you don't have a financial backer, like there's always going to be that big dream, but then to get to that dream or achieving that dream, you're going to have roadblocks along the way, and one of them would definitely be like the financial part of like getting your equipments, setting your studio space up, the recording and the production. So obviously, InsideOut would have had to have faced some of those situations as you formed and started. How did you guys keep the group together, and how did you just sort of like get through the whole process?
So when we actually started, if you go back to Cookie's story and if you listen to how he talks about that bit, it's based on like we only had one system that he had, one sound system
Wow.
with a mixer, and that was it. And we just had to make do with that.
Really?
I was fortunately enough to have started work. So any extra money, and the good thing about it that time was it was just me. I was staying in my own house, so I didn't have bills to pay. I would get any spare loose change and just buy like a mic or two every payday.
Wow.
Or cables. I bought my first bass. That was my first bass ever that I bought when we first started. And pretty much all our instruments, we kind of went back and forth. Okay, how are we going to do this? We set goals throughout the year, small goals. We want to have our own sound systems, a full band setup. And then slowly, we just kind of just managed to get everything, perform, save up whatever we could. Instead of splitting the whole amount with everyone, we split it. If there was 4 of us in the band or 3 of us in the band, we split it into 4. The fourth one would be to buy something.
Wow.
So yeah, it was hard, but it's worth it.
It was your passion that just really drove you guys through
Very
that
much.
process and that journey. Now, InsideOut has grown into Fiji's most famous band, and I say that not because we work together and Cookie is my close cousin, but because InsideOut, in my opinion, is one of the bands that has really performed almost globally. Like you've done trade shows in Asia, you've done trade shows in North America. We're about to embark on a journey to Las Vegas to perform at the Holla Festival. And then we've got all these other gigs for InsideOut that's sort of like lined up. When did you realize, like, wow, we've made it? Like, wow, InsideOut is a household name or it's a brand. Like, what point of your career with the rest of the band members that you kind of like realized that you've made it?
I wouldn't say we've made it until like people tell us. Like it's to me it backdates to where your values.
Yeah.
One of the things is like being grounded with yourself.
Yeah.
If you're gonna be high and mighty,
Yeah.
people will notice that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So for us, it was, and I think all of us pretty much went through the same upbringing with our families in the church. So pretty much similar teachings from home. So when we converse and we talk about things, it's pretty much based on the same values.
Yeah.
So like when we set our mind to something, we do it, but out of the passion.
Yeah.
And we look at every goal as the bottom of a hill. So once you reach that one, just know that there is another hill to be climbed. So you climb, you reach to the top, another goal. There's another goal there to start up. So like it's always and has been that way.
Yeah.
We see every achievement as like, wow, at least we've made it.
You celebrate every achievement.
Yes.
And from what you just shared, like the recognition and the fame, like although you get that fame and that recognition, like it doesn't really steer you from what you're passionate about, and that is just creating music, and you don't let the fame and the recognition get to your head like some artist, and then it kind of like, sort of like creates, how do you say it? Like you become so egotistical, like you have an ego and you think like you're better than somebody else.
Yeah, just staying humble.
Yeah, staying humble.
Fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah. Oh, very nice. Very good. Very wise, Timothy. Now, you and the band had an agreement that money and women would be the only things that could break you.
Yes.
Why was it so important for you to set those boundaries?
When we first started, the only person that was married was Cookie, and the rest of us, we were still not single. We were dating.
Dating.
We weren't married. We were
Yeah.
still trying to figure out what's what.
Yeah.
If we're gonna get married or not, this kind of things. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and it went through we went through almost 2 years, and then we were like we had gone through something really big, and then we sat down together and said, just remember these two things will spoil us and break us apart, which is money and women. In terms of money, it's like not being transparent. Every time we do a show, we sit down. This is how much we're getting. This is what we propose to do with the money. We get paid this much. This much we save into buying gear, or just keep it in the bank account. And so, those are things that we saw people doing before us. Like they would take a contract. Oh, I got this gig, but then I just pay them like a few dollars, and not justifying why they should keep the whole amount. So it's just being transparent. That's in terms of finance. In terms of women, I mean, we didn't want the stigma of the old musicians replicating on us.
Yeah.
How we go through women, and in terms of women, it's just say if I married someone that was never 100% with what I was doing, which is my music, and InsideOut not being famous, or not famous, like being well known, the stigma of like, you're just a musician, just why are you doing this? And it can get to your head sometimes. And that's why the support group at home it plays a big part.
Yeah, it's important.
And it really does play a big part. And shout out to my wife and my whole family.
Nice, that's great. And it's good because then it's sort of like the foundation of the band. So everyone is kind of like on the same page, same wavelength. And just, I've always observed, like when you are all together, I sense that brotherhood. That you are all on, you all support each other, you encourage each other, you lift each other up. Like there's never once that I've seen where one of you would belittle somebody else. And that's such a amazing thing to see in a band that's, in my opinion, well known. And you still maintain that level of, humility, all humble, and you just, and the good thing too that all of four of you, yourself, Timothy, Cookie, Mesa, and Bill, as well as Bruce, you all have God at the center of your journey, and I think that's why InsideOut is so successful in everything that you do. Now, as a musician, especially in a famous band, we'll say famous band because everybody knows InsideOut, there's a lot of pressure to always perform at your best. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by that pressure, and how do you cope with it?
I guess sometimes I do feel the pressure, but then we do it out of passion. Hence the name InsideOut, from the inside music, performing music from the inside out. How we feel. It's basically what we feel. Is what the crowd will feel.
Right.
And so it's pretty much just keeping the intensity up, and finding ways and in making the performance better.
Yeah.
Especially when it's something that we've never done before and we want to do it. We're always up for new challenges. And can't wait to perform.
So when you're about to perform, I'm just going back to my question of like, most musicians, because I've asked like a few musicians that have come onto the podcast, like we've had the Fijian tenor, Justin Hicks, and I asked him like, how does he control his nerves before he goes on and perform? So he told me that he listens to like a special music or something that really gets his energy levels up, and then just as he goes onto the stage, he takes it off and then he goes. So I guess for someone like yourself, like when you're going on to the stage, like with the fellow band members, like is there any ritual that you do?
Personally, for me, the only time I feel nerves is when I know I've never prepared well.
Right.
So like if I like don't do my part, I don't listen to the songs and practice with the songs.
Yeah.
That makes me nervous. And but when I'm all good, like
Yeah.
it's just more like just the energy, just hyping yourself,
Yeah.
up, getting yourself psyched up for the performance,
Yeah.
and just going at it. And then just before every performance, we say a prayer, and then
Yeah.
when we're off, we close the performance with a prayer as well.
And with that energy, I experienced it personally. You remember when we went to, I think it was in Hong Kong. We were doing a show in Hong Kong. At the time, I was working in the tourism industry. And Timothy and Cookie and Mesa and, no, it wasn't Mesa, it was Bruce.
Bruce.
And Bill were doing meke, which is our traditional dance here in Fiji, to the trade buyers in Hong Kong, and the energy that you brought to that room was wow. It was so electrifying. Like we felt your energy. Like, I remember because that was the last leg of I think it was like 8 cities in Asia that we had gone. It was and my energy levels was like 0%. And then when you guys started performing the meke and bringing in that energy, like it just boosted my energy, and I was able to get through the day.
Yeah, I think that was in total. That would have been our with the leg. That would have been the second time ever that we've decided to perform a meke.
Yeah.
For an event.
Yeah.
Apart from just singing, so like your energy really feeds off to the audience.
Yeah. Great. All right, we're going to take a short break and use this opportunity to go and refill your cups of tea, get a refreshment, and we will hear a word from one of our sponsors for the podcast. Let Me Pod You with Andy Blake. We'll see you shortly. Timothy, the music industry can be tough, like with expectations, criticism, and constant public attention. Have you ever faced moments of self-doubt? And if so, like how did you work through them?
It just comes to the people that you surround yourself with. And it depends on how you take it. Criticism, constructive criticism.
Yeah.
So just an example, and I know she'll be okay if I share this.
Yeah.
Because it's something personal to me. When we first started, and because it was to do with alcohol, we were drinking, and Nem and Tale were there as well.
Yeah.
Tale spoke to Cookie and said, like, I love your chemistry with your group, but you need to replace the bass guitarist. And Cookie told this because...
And who is the bass guitarist?
Me.
You.
Exactly. So, and it depends on how you take it. And he asked her why. And so like, not on tempo, all these kind of things. And straight out, to me, doing that first few gigs was very, very hard because I've never been on stage. I was very shy when I'm on stage. But with friends, I'm okay. So when she said, you need to replace that bass guitarist, and so like I took it too hard to make a difference and prove her wrong. Fast forward, I think it was maybe 6 months, and then they decided to come and watch again.
Right.
From that time we performed.
And she saw growth.
And I didn't know they were there, so I was full performing, and then after our show, and then I got a shock, and then they were walking towards us, and then she shook my hand and she said, I told Cookie a long time ago that he needed to replace you, but I'm glad he didn't, and I see the growth, and you proved me wrong. So she apologized. So that was that's one of the ways you can
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
counter to these kind of things.
Absolutely.
And for me, it's always
And it's also part of like growing, like when you
Yes,
get
exactly.
constructive criticism like that, like you can look at it as either constructive or you can look at it as just like normal criticism, and it's how you handle it. And like coming from someone like Tale, who's such a gifted singer as well, like it means a lot as well. Like
it takes a lot. I don't want to say the word, but it takes
Yeah.
a lot of that to come to a person and apologize. And
yeah,
it shows
no, but
that-
we love her. She's great.
Yes.
Like her music is just amazing. Like she's got a very powerful and soulful voice, Tale, when she sings.
very, very supportive in terms of the music industry.
Yeah.
It's either you fix it or you replace it.
Yeah.
So I made the decision to try and fix what I had wrong.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much everyone in the band. We find what someone's not good in. We tell them up straight, and we work on it.
Yeah.
If it's to do with a band or if it's personal, it's the way we grow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great stuff. That's like how I auditioned to be the backup dancer for Inside Out, and you told me I wasn't good enough. Okay, so you lost your mom at a young age, right? We talked about that earlier. And later, you faced the struggles of growing inside out from nothing. How have those experiences shaped your mental resilience today?
It's a big question. I guess it's all part of growing up and being a man, especially trying to fend for your family. It plays a lot of tricks in terms of like not having anyone to talk to.
Yeah.
There were times where because it was either I run to a friend or it was a girlfriend. And so breakups happen.
Right.
And when you're young and you have no help or direction, you resort to what's normal.
Yeah.
And you see things with the internet, people cutting themselves. I used to do, that was me. I used to cut myself.
Yeah.
I used to feel suicidal.
Wow.
But then it also depends when you're sitting still. One of the words is an idle mind is the devil's
Yes.
playground.
Playground. That is so true.
I used to just think of what my mom and my parents taught me, what I learned in church, because basically everything started off there, and then just building from there. Work on your emotions, find other means or surround yourself with people that can help you.
Yeah.
They don't need to know about your situations,
Yeah.
but just them being there and supportive helps
Yeah.
a lot. And I feel that with the boys, and I guess that's one of the reasons why we are still together is because we talk a lot of rubbish, but
You all have each other's
we all
back.
have each other's backs for everything, music and for personal life.
So apart from being like just band members, you also like brothers almost. Where
Cookie and I grew up right from small. With Mesa, we went to the same high school, and then in tertiary school.
Yeah.
And Bill is my so-called uncle.
Right.
So
Uncle Bill.
Uncle Bill.
Do you have any habits or routines that help you stay mentally strong, whether it's faith, fitness, or just stepping away from the noise?
I guess it's just it's faith. I may not show it in the way I act and I speak, but every night I say a prayer with my kids.
Yeah.
I put them to bed. In the morning I say a prayer, just being thankful from where you could have been.
Yeah.
And where you are now, and just being thankful and content with what you have now, but not being content with where you're at, and to strive for better. Like I said, every peak of a mountain is a beginning to another.
Yeah.
So you just keep climbing.
Yeah. It's interesting that you shared, like so many people, like you see, like if you well, if I say like public figure, like because once you are like on a public platform, you're often referred to as a public figure, but then you kind of like, oh, just it's just what I do, and it's a passion, it's a hobby. So people see it otherwise. They say, oh, you're a public figure. Like they just see you, but then they don't really see or know the person that you are behind that whole presentation of yourself in a public place. And you shared like how your faith plays such a huge role. That's a sort of similar journey and similar sort of like thing for me. Like I've also shared this on one of my episodes where faith plays a huge part in my career. Like people just see me in the forefront, but then when I'm alone, like my faith is my foundation. Like it's what gets me through everything that I sort of like face in hardships or personal struggles. And I live by that saying, like instead of going to the phone, go to the throne in prayer.
Yeah.
Thanks to Pastor Joyce Myers. Now, okay, so beyond music, you also helped start the Resonance Media. So you're like the pioneer of Resonance, the Resonance Media team, which now I am a part of, and you are the pioneer of that platform. What inspired you to dive into content creation?
It was during COVID. I had a camera with me. And that's pretty much what I could do. Like I took the camera, started taking photos outside, and then learned that I kind of liked the feel and taking images and creating content either with the camera or my phone, and then internet search up how to better certain things.
Yeah,
and then during COVID I went back to my trade because tourism industry had stopped.
had shut down.
Had shut down. So I went back to my trade just to at least put some money on, put some food on the table.
Yeah.
And worked at Sunrise. Is it Sunrise? I can't remember. But it's Tigan's
Sunrise.
Yeah.
Yeah, the most famous peas in Fiji.
Yeah,
Chicken flavor is the best. That's my favorite. Tegan, if you're watching this episode, can you do a delivery to Resonance Media?
Yes. So I went back to doing that, and then when the borders opened, Cookie said, "Well, Cookie didn't come back to me. I asked him like, once everything's set up, and is there a possibility of me coming back and joining Resonance,
right.
Starting up, or joining or just starting up something else?" And then he said, "Yeah, come back. Let's start." I wanted to start a media team, so I came in and started doing content, but it was difficult trying to do music full time. And then creating content not only for InsideOut but for artists, bands, for the Resonance as a whole.
Yeah.
So I told him like we need someone else on board, and then we got Willow.
Yeah.
And then it so happened to be that the team, and it so happened to be that you had come along with a proposal to to run. The Hibiscus.
Yes.
And so the media team, pretty much the media team now was the media team for Hibiscus, which won
the 68th Hibiscus Festival.
Yes, which everyone wasn't working for Resonance at that time. It was just myself and Willow, and then we just needed it to grow.
Yeah.
We had the vision, but we had the vision. I couldn't work on media all the time because, first of all, we are here because InsideOut. We needed to
absolutely
push
InsideOut.
And then we started with structure, and then I moved to doing full-time InsideOut stuff, and then I'm really happy with how the media team has.
Yeah, but you must be very proud of the baby that you started to see it now.
Yes, I was.
Growing up into an adult Resonance Media team, because the media team have really like secured a lot of good contracts and projects, and they've really like stepped out and become a brand that's really recognized. I'm not just saying this because I work for the brand, but because we are doing some amazing work with reputable organizations and brands in the country, other brands in the country. You've mentioned being proud of how far the media team has come. What's one lesson you've learned about building something from the ground up?
Communication. Communication plays a big role.
So
If it's to do with clients or with your staff, I learned communication is one of the biggest things because it bridges the gap between you and the client and you and your staff and getting the job done well.
Yep.
And that's where you ask all your questions. Like if you don't ask all your questions, how do you expect to do your best there? And that's one thing I noticed with. I don't notice. I'm not picking.
I understand what
pointing other people out, but like this is one thing that we saw that we needed to do.
It's not pointing other people out. I think, in also my experience as well. I think it's just sort of like a cultural thing here in Fiji. Like the communication is sort of like not sort of like we don't communicate as effective as say. Basing my experience of when I lived abroad, like when I was in New Zealand, the communication in New Zealand was we got everything done accordingly to the way that we communicated, and that is something to this day that I struggle with here in Fiji.
Yes.
So I agree with you.
Yeah, definitely that and just having a structure. I'm really happy and how things are right now with a structure, with having directors and management, and then you have your staff. So that's a really big achievement for Resonance and Resonance Media as a whole.
Yeah. Looking back at your journey from the kid playing guitar in church to where you are now, what would you say to your younger self? Like if you could give your younger self advice from where you are now, what advice would you give them?
My younger self right now. Stop playing around in someone. I really don't know. I would just say just keep pushing. Set a goal. That I had to learn after I finished. After I didn't finish high school, set a goal, work towards it, and then set another goal, and just keep working towards all these small ones, and then make sure you have a really big one at the end.
Yeah.
And don't give up. It may take longer, but at least you're getting there.
And you'll be in a podcast with the Andy Blake. Jokes.
Yes.
I'm just plugging my own self in there.
Yeah.
That's how's that for self-promotion?
Yeah. One of the goals was our first ever goal was let's do a festival, which was Uprising.
Right.
And our first year of being together, we met you. And,
that's right. At Uprising.
Exactly.
That's right. I remember that. Yes.
You interviewed us there.
Yes.
And then the following year we performed there.
Yes.
So that's where we got to know you and then see how it...
wow. And just, oh my goodness. Like you just reminded me. I remember we did the interview on the beach. That was about
That's
12.
ages ago.
Yeah. I'm 12 plus
we still have
years ago.
images of that day. So
wow.
like those small things we...
And I was so thin and much younger and...
Had hair.
No hair. With snapbacks to the side, which was my signature look at the time. And everyone used to call me Chechemon till this day. So if you're watching and you live in Nosori, my hometown, please, my name is Andy and not Chechemon. Because to this day, people still call me Chechemon. And that was the show that I used to do on television, like, I think 5 or 6 years ago. Like, I would go into the supermarket and people would be like, I like watching your show. And I'll be like, what show? Chechemon. I watch it every week, and I'm thinking to myself, "Are you okay? Sure."
How many years
they
ago?
must be playing some kind of repeat. So either that or you're just lying to me. Okay, last question for you, Timothy. What legacy do you hope to leave behind, not just as a musician but as a person? What legacy would you like to leave behind?
Well, I'm lost around with that question because all I ever want to do is just inspire. Just inspire people with whatever I'm doing in terms of reaching goals, building a company or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's just to inspire because if you inspire the younger generation, they will want to do better for themselves.
Yeah.
So
inspired by inspiring the next lot of artists in Fiji.
I think
up and
in
coming?
general, just inspiring. Hopefully, when people watch this, inspire them in terms of if you're lost, where you can, what you can do, and that it's not the end of the road. There's always some way around the obstacles. And for musicians, like set yourself on a pedestal where you can strive for better. We didn't have the opportunity to or the platforms to share our music, and now we do with Resonance Entertainment. You can come in, record. We'll help you with marketing, with everything. And everything is transparent with you. You ask questions, we'll answer them directly with you, and that's what we didn't have. So just a platform there for upcoming musicians too as well.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. And also, speaking of like legacy, like you're also going to be passing on your legacy to your children, because once you retire, if you ever want to retire from music, who knows, maybe one of your kids will carry the baton from your musical legacy.
Well, my thing is for every child, for my kids especially, I don't want to force anything to them. Because I feel when you force something onto a child, they will start to rebel against it. And let them kind of figure out what they want to do, what they're passionate about. And we are there just to support them and guide them. So if they are willing to start something like this, we're here just to support and give them help.
Great. Thank you so much, Tim, and thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Okay.
Let me pod you with Andy Blake. I hope you enjoyed being podded. So that brings us to the end of another exciting interview with my guest, Timothy Solomon. We hope you enjoyed this episode and felt inspired by some of the messages that Timothy shared and his journey. And we hope that you use this advice and apply it to your life, as well as for someone that that might be or might have gone through something similar to what Timothy had shared. You can share this episode with them. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our Resonance Media channel. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, give our video a big thumbs up. If you're following and watching this video on YouTube, Facebook, share this video, and we look forward to seeing you in our next episode, which will be our final episode of season 1, and that's next week. For now, I bid you farewell and vinak vakalevo.